Hi everyone and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
Okay, we're now in October and some of the hot weather is starting to leave. It's
very slowly, but yes, you're right. It's slightly cooler than July.
Right, than those hot days of summer. So thinking back to the summer, what do you do to stay cool on those hot days?
Well, I have this thing, it's called an air conditioner.
Oh, lovely.
And I hug it. And then I just let go in September.
Okay.
And that's about all.
I just get in the fridge. I kind of clear it out, clear out the fridge, move some of the shelves, and
get in there.
So no, I would drink a lot of water, do like a good ice cream or two.
Sure.
All the convenience stores, wonderful places just to go in for 5 minutes.
That's good. I also change my style in the kitchen because I don't have air conditioning in my kitchen.
No.
So less stir frying. I'm not standing there cooking in front of the fire. I might make more salads, make more cold sandwiches, things like that. Partly because the cooler food is nice, but also because the kitchen can get so hot in the summertime. So I might change my diet a little bit.
Well, here's something that you could include in your dish. We're going to talk about a bowl of Spanish gazpacho soup.
Ooh, gazpacho.
Yeah, what is it? What's the story? Let's read through day one.
Reading.
Stay cool with a bowl of Spanish gazpacho. It's common for people to enjoy a hot bowl of soup in the winter. But what about cold soup in the summer? It might sound strange, but in truth, a bowl of cool gazpacho is the perfect treat for a summer's day. This Spanish soup has been a summertime pleasure since ancient times. The red gazpacho people eat today includes raw cut tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, garlic, and cucumbers. These are mixed with olive oil, water, vinegar, salt, and bits of dry bread to make a delicious thick soup. The original soup was very different though. The earliest gazpacho didn't have tomatoes or peppers, and likely came to Spain with the Romans. These vegetables were later added after they were brought back from the Americas by Spanish explorers. These days, there are many different kinds of gazpacho to choose from. In Malaga, a part of southern Spain, it's made with almonds and grapes. Other places add ham, boiled eggs, or even oranges for different tastes.
So the article starts and says it's common for people to enjoy a hot bowl of soup in the winter.
In the winter?
Right.
Because the weather is cold, the air is cold, the temperatures are cold. So sure, a hot bowl of soup in the winter is a great idea. But what about cold soup in the summer? When the air is hot, when your body is hot, maybe have some cold soup in the summer. But actually the idea really of cold soup, that is kind of strange, right? Because when people think of soup, they think of hot. It's kind of like saying, ooh, how about some hot ice cream? Like, how do you do that? Ice cream is cold, soup is hot, but not always.
Yeah, the article says it might sound strange, but in truth, a bowl of cool gazpacho is the perfect treat for a summer's day.
Pretty good.
Now, in that sentence, I use this phrase, in truth, and we use that just to say something is true. It's a fact. If you actually check it out, in reality, this is true. This is real.
That's right. Here, yes, we're talking about gazpacho. It's just a nice word to say, too. Gazpacho. This Spanish soup has been a summertime pleasure since ancient times.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it'd been around since ancient times. So maybe the Romans were making gazpacho. When we say ancient, we mean like 1,000 or more years ago. And a summertime pleasure, like having ice cream, like a cool glass of lemonade on a summer day. That's
shaved ice.
Shaved ice. That's a summertime pleasure. One of those lovely things you could do in the summer when the temperature's hot to cool down a bit. So let's say we're going to make our own gazpacho. What do we need?
Well, we need a bunch of ingredients, but we said since ancient times, and in ancient times, the gazpacho they ate would have been different.
Sure.
The article explains the red gazpacho people eat today includes raw cut tomatoes or tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, garlic, and cucumbers.
Okay.
There's a bunch of ingredients. We'll talk about a few in a moment, but first we need to look at today's language in focus. So today we're talking about how we can use verbs and turn them into adjectives. We do this by putting them in the ing form or in the pp form and then using them to modify a noun. We can do this with all kinds of verbs. When we use the VING form, this usually indicates something that the thing is doing right now, whereas the PP form usually shows something has been done to the thing already. So, cut tomatoes, there's an example. Cut tomatoes or tomatoes are tomatoes that have been cut already. Boiling water is water that is boiling out right now. Here's two examples using the same verb as different adjectives. We looked outside at the falling snow. It is falling right now. The ground was covered in fallen snow. The snow has already fallen. So one of those ingredients we talked about was tomatoes, or tomatoes. In the UK we say tomatoes, and they're cut tomatoes, so someone's cut them, and they're also raw.
Yes, absolutely. If something is raw, we're probably here talking about vegetables, although maybe fruit and fish too. We could talk about that, but generally vegetables because it means it's uncooked. All right, if you're having uncooked vegetables, you're having raw vegetables. If you, for example, make a salad, most times when people make a salad, they don't warm anything up, they don't cook any of the vegetables. You just cut them up, throw them in the salad, put on something on top to make it taste good, and there you go, a nice bowl of raw vegetables, otherwise known as a salad. Yes, we can have raw fish, of course, sushi is raw fish. Raw chicken is really bad for you. Raw beef, occasionally, people have steak tartare, but with most of meats, it's really not safe and healthy to eat the meat raw. That's why we would have it cooked. So if something is cooked, it's had heat put to it, it's been, warmed up, so it's safer and tastier and easier to chew. But with vegetables, for example, and actually with many types of fruit, when you're eating fruit, you don't really have to say, I ate a raw apple. Because unless you're making an apple pie, almost all the apple or bananas or oranges we eat would be raw. They would be uncooked, no heat, just picked out of the ground or off the tree, put it in your mouth raw after you wash it. For example, Perry prefers the taste of raw carrots to cooked carrots.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So he likes it crunchy style like the rabbits eat.
So we've got the tomatoes in there, and we've got some bell peppers, okay?
Green peppers or bell peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers?
Yeah, the ones that are not really spicy.
Kind of big.
Yeah, those ones.
Right.
And then we've got onions. Onions are a plant. There are different kinds of onions. You've got kind of the big bulb ones that are white or yellow, or the red ones, which I do like.
Kind of purple red, yeah.
Yeah, then you've got the long ones, spring onions.
Green onions,
those kinds
spring
of things.
onions,
Like
scallions.
that. Yeah, and they usually have a slightly sort of strong smell and taste. And of course, one thing people know is when you cut them, they have this gas that comes out that makes your eyes water.
That's right, especially if you cut the root, the bottom of the onion. Try to cut from the top.
Okay, so that's an onion. Here's an example sentence. If you cook onions slowly for about 10 minutes, they become soft and much sweeter.
Caramelized onions,
Yeah.
really good on a hamburger or something like that. Anyways, back to our list of ingredients. We had tomatoes in there, we had onions in there, and of course we have cucumbers in there too. What is a cucumber? It's a long green vegetable. It's kind of like a straight banana, but it's very green, and you can cut it up. Generally, we don't cook cucumber.
Not
it doesn't
often.
cook very well because it's got a lot of water, but you can put it in your salads if you like having Greek food or food from the Mediterranean area. They use a lot of cucumber. Lovely cucumber sandwiches with your English tea or your picnic in England. That's lovely too. They're a nice crunchy green vegetable, not too strong a taste.
No.
but always very commonly found in lots of salads and things like that.
Okay, so we've got all these different types of vegetables.
Like imagine we've chopped everything up into smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see in the article, these are mixed with olive oil,
all right,
water, vinegar, salt, and bits of dry bread to make a delicious thick soup.
Interesting. Okay.
So olives are one of the things we put in, or olive oil. Olive is a small, dark, it's often black, there's green types, and we can eat them raw.
Sure.
You can cook them and put them on pizza, in salads, that kind of thing. But olives are very commonly used to make olive oil.
Right,
which is,
squeeze the oil out.
Yeah, used for cooking, sometimes as part of a salad dressing, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Very good for your heart too, right? Olive oil is much safer to cook with than vegetable oil or animal fat or things like that. And also when you're making a salad dressing, as you mentioned, the two things you really do need, olive oil and vinegar. You can mix those together, some salt, some pepper, maybe some other things to make it taste good. The vinegar is the sour. It's that sour type of flavor, quite a strong sour flavor, like a lemon, maybe even stronger. We make this in all different sorts of ways. There's red wine vinegar, apple vinegar, sherry vinegar, all sorts of styles. But basically, we use it in cooking to give that sour flavor. You can use lemon, you can use vinegar. You mix this with your spicy and your salty and your sweet, and it makes for a nice combination. So vinegar is used in lots of different dishes. You wouldn't really just have vinegar on its own because it's too sour, but when we combine it with other things, it can make a dish very delicious.
Yeah, so we've got these things, tomatoes, peppers, onions, cucumbers.
Kind of sounds like a salad, really.
Right, a salad in soup form, but the original soup was very different though.
Oh, all right. So if we go back and find our historical cookbooks, they would have a very different recipe for what we would think of as gazpacho, but a very different flavor. It says the earliest gazpacho didn't have tomatoes or peppers. Of course, those are from North America or South America. So back in the days of the Romans, 1,000 years before the Europeans went to America, no tomatoes or peppers. And it says likely came to Spain with the Romans, because a lot of those other things, the olive oil, the olives, the cucumbers, Romans used those things a lot in their cooking. And of course, they controlled much of Spain back in those days. So it's actually maybe an Italian or Roman dish brought to Spain, and then of course, new vegetables were added to it in the later centuries. We have this word likely. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, this is likely what happened. When we say likely here, we're basically saying probably. We don't know 100%. We don't have all the information about where gazpacho came from. But if you look at the history, if you study what people know about that time, and maybe even find some old cookbooks from that time, this is what we think happened. This is our best bet. This is what probably or likely happened. Because of course, people don't really collect the history of cooking recipes, right? They might collect the history of what a king did 500 years ago, but they don't really collect the history of the king's menu and the cookbooks from that time. So it's just the historian's best guess. This is what likely happened. For example, Vince will likely buy a new scooter this year because his old one doesn't work very well anymore. So he will probably buy a new scooter. Likely and probably, we can use them basically in the same way.
So the Romans brought in this soup, and it maybe had the onions and the garlic and was served cold. But these days we've got tomatoes and bell peppers in there.
Interesting.
We see in the article these vegetables, these fancier, well, a bit fancier, were later added after they were brought back from the Americas by Spanish explorers. The Americas means all that part, north, south, central, that whole, all the islands, that whole kind of set of the world. And an explorer is a person who explores. Back in that sort of 13th, 14th, 15th century, people from Europe were going out into the world and finding other countries. Of course, other people lived there, but Europeans were exploring them and learning about them and so on. We hear that Hernando de Soto was the first European explorer to cross the Mississippi River. Okay, that's a pretty cool fact.
I wonder if he found some gazpacho Probably not. Maybe he made some gazpacho. He had all the ingredients, hopefully. Anyways, moving back forward in time, back to our day, it says these days, or in modern times, these days, there are many different kinds of gazpacho to choose from. Absolutely. I remember having a blueberry gazpacho at my friend's wedding in Canada a few years ago. It was a hot summer day. Blueberry gazpacho was lovely. A wonderful thing just to cool you down.
Okay.
And we talked about that's the way it is these days, as I said. In modern times, in our times, in the time we're living in, maybe not exactly today at this moment, but you know, in the last 5-10 years, the sort of time we think of as being now, these days. That's what you would say. The way things are done in the time we're living in now.
So one thing about Spain is that different parts of Spain are actually pretty different from each other.
Okay.
Up in the north is very different from down in the south.
Okay,
Some
like
of
the
it's,
food in different parts of China is really different.
Some of it's related to climate, some of it's related to the history. So in each part of Spain, they're going to have a slightly different kind of gazpacho.
Oh, that's cool.
For example, in Malaga, a part of southern Spain, its gazpacho is made with almonds and grapes. That sounds pretty tasty.
That does sound kind of interesting, but sweeter, right? They would have a sweeter flavor to it because they would have the almonds and the grapes. But that makes sense because those things are grown in southern Spain, aren't they?
So when we're using the adjective southern, it simply means from the south part of a country or area. Southern Taiwan is Kaohsiung and Tainan and Pingdong, for example. Southern China will be down in, Yunnan kind of area. So it's just south on the compass. We've also got northern, eastern, western, and so on. Central for the middle. Here's an example sentence. The weather in the southern part of Taiwan is warmer and drier than in the north. So they've got grapes in this soup and almonds in it.
That's right. Almonds, this is a type of nut. Kind of like a walnut or a hazelnut or a cashew. Almonds are kind of flat. It's kind of a flat nut. It's in kind of a light brown shell, and the nut itself, or the fruit, I guess what we would eat, is a light brown kind of color, dark brown on the outside, light brown on the inside. We use almonds a lot when we make candy bars and a lot of different chocolate bars. They'll put almonds. People can put almonds on top of their ice cream. You can throw almonds in salads. You can grind them up. I think almonds are used to make praline as well, I believe.
Almond milk and almond
milk,
tea.
all sorts of things. So it's kind of a nice, soft, nutty, but very sweet. It's one of the sweeter types of nuts. I'm sure if you've had a cake or a muffin or something sweet and baked, or with chocolate, something like that, you would have almonds. They're very popular and I think quite healthy, right? They're quite a healthy way of getting fat and protein, much better than eating beef, for example. Let's look at the example sentence for almond. For breakfast, Caroline likes to eat some yogurt with banana, almonds, and honey. And apart from the banana, the Romans probably ate that too, or something similar.
Pretty much, yeah. Honey, a very old kind of food that you'd put with some yogurt and stuff like that. Sounds very tasty.
So, Malaga, southern Spain, we would have almonds and grapes in our gazpacho. Okay, I like that.
And the article says other places, meaning other parts of Spain, add ham.
Ooh.
Okay, little chopped up pieces of ham.
Interesting.
Boiled eggs.
Oh, wow, okay.
Or even oranges.
Oranges.
Yeah, I've seen little orange segments in salad.
In salad, sure,
Yeah, so why not add them in a soup? A lot of oranges come from Spain, again, around the southern areas and parts of it. You drive through, you can see orange trees in lots of places.
Okay.
So why not put some
I'm going to go
oranges?
there. I'm not going to do a tour of Spain. I'm going to do a tour of gazpacho.
Yeah, that'd
and
be pretty
see all
fun.
the different parts of Spain.
So yeah, other places add ham, boiled eggs, or even oranges for different tastes. Of course, the orange, you'd get the very sweet and sour stuff. Ham and boiled eggs would maybe make it richer and thicker, and the boiled eggs, you know, if they fell apart a bit, you'd get creamier maybe a little bit.
Possibly. We should also point out, I'm not sure, but it's likely that the ham is not raw like the vegetables.
Sure.
The ham, the pork, it's been cooked. But of course you would cook that before and then cut it up and throw it into your... So the vegetables will be raw, but don't worry, the meat will not be raw in your gazpacho.
Okay, well, we're going to find out more about exactly how to make this soup in tomorrow's lesson.
Can I go home and make it tomorrow night?
Absolutely,
Cool.
you can. But right now, we're going to go to today's For You Chat question.
You chat.
So, of course, today we talked about soup. We generally think of soup as being a hot bowl of soup.
Right.
But there are cold soups that are very nice.
Like gazpacho.
Yeah, so based on this, which foods do people usually eat hot, but also taste good cold? Give a few examples.
Oh, so you're not talking about gazpacho, which is made to be eaten cold.
Right.
You're saying what would you maybe get in the restaurant hot and then take home and eat later, finish later, but when it's cold. So not soup. I wouldn't eat other kinds of soup cold.
No, you wouldn't want it to get cold.
Chicken soup cold would be weird. So no, not soup. Let's see. Well, I might be weird in this. I like cold pizza.
Yeah, I can
like
see.
Like the next day, you know, you have a couple of pieces left. You just eat the pizza. Cold pizza's not bad.
Yeah, I think people would mostly think of rice as being cooked up and served hot.
Warm,
but
hot, yeah.
Again, if you're going to a sushi restaurant, all the rice is in those little cold.
Sure.
It's all cold, and just like any of the other food in there, it's served cold.
Or the onigiri, the kind of rice triangles, rice balls. That's often cold.
That's often cold.
That's a good one.
Again, noodles, I suppose. A lot of people think a hot bowl of noodles, you cook the noodles, but liangmian.
Right.
You know, with cucumbers, one of today's foods that we talked about. Liangmian is great. That tastes absolutely fine cold.
That's another good one, yeah. So what about you guys? Can you think of some other foods that you might enjoy cold as well as hot? Maybe people think you might be a little weird, but it's just your preference. You kind of say, sure, I don't mind it when it's hot, when it's new, when it's fresh. But the next day when it's cold, it's delicious in its own way. Can you think of a few things that you might enjoy both ways, hot and cold? We'll be back tomorrow with more about gazpacho. Bring your aprons and all your kitchen stuff, because we're going to be cooking, but not cooking. We're going to be preparing.
Yes.
Yeah, no cooking.
Vocabulary Review.
Raw. Renee likes to cook her carrots until they're soft, but I prefer raw carrots. Onion. Julie's eyes hurt and she cries every time she cuts onions. Likely. Paul isn't answering his phone. It's late, so he has likely gone to sleep already. Explorer. Centuries ago, European explorers traveled across the oceans of the world to find new land. Southern. Most Canadians live in the southern part of the country, where it's warmer than in the north. Almond. Almond. Almonds are Peter's favorite kind of nut. He can eat a whole bag of them in one day.
智慧小补帖
Cucumber. Olive. Vinegar.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net